All right, hi everyone. We're here at Otakon 2024, Shade Studios, and it's your girl Emily, and who do we have here? J Michael Tatum.
Hello.
So if you've been living under a rock, J Michael Tatum has been a voice actor veteran for years and years and years. So please tell us, how did you get started?
When you said living under a rock, I was like, chances are you've been living next to me. Oh God, how I got started, such a long story. I started on stage as a kid. That's how I started. That's how I got the acting bug. And then years and years later, I got the opportunity to voice some things for Funimation because a buddy of mine was a director for them, and he just sort of called me up out of the blue one day and was like, "Hey, do you want to try out for this thing?" And I was like, "I've never voice acted before." So no, I don't want to do it. And I kept saying no, and he wouldn't take no for an answer. It was a very different time. So like, there weren't a lot of actors in competition. They were looking for new blood. And so he's like, please just come in, just come in. And I finally came in, and he kind of, he tricked me a little bit because he was like, well, you're just going to audition. It's not going to be anything.
You're going to throw you in the
You're just going to lay down a scratch track for the actor we do choose. So just no pressure. Just come. I'll give you a tour of the studio. It'll be a story. And so I was like, all right, I'll come in. And I did it. And it was like a 4-hour long process where we did like multiple episodes of this character. In Samurai 7, I played Rikichi, my first gig ever as a voice actor. Unless you count the phone tree voice on the agency I worked for before then. But yeah, we were done, and I got out of the booth, and I signed a bunch of what I thought were NDAs, and turned out they were a contract. And he was like, hey, you're an actor now, and we just recorded the first 6 episodes, so haha, got
and
you.
you're here for the next X amount of years.
Yeah, and now here I am. So that's how I started. I got tricked into it. So anyone ever asks me how to get into voice acting, I tell them, well, do what I did. Wait for someone to ask you, say no, and then let yourself be tricked into signing a contract.
Perfect.
Worked for me.
Yeah. So was that like your aha moment of like, oh, this is what I want to do the rest of my life?
I mean, I really enjoyed it, and when I realized it was sustainable as a living, which took a few years to do, I did it on the side. It was my side hustle for like 2-3 years, and then I was given an opportunity to direct and write, and so that's kind of how you make ends meet as a creative. You wear all the hats. And once I realized it was possible to do that with the same studio that was where I lived, I was like, well, why not? Why not?
Of course.
Let's try this. And I did, and I'm very, very lucky that it has lasted as long as it has.
Yeah. I mean, not without the proper accolades, of course.
I mean, I'll let you say that part.
So you said you were started like on stage when you were a kid. So going from a stage to behind a screen, that's such a
huge difference.
Huge difference.
I think it's much harder.
Yeah.
Stage acting, a lot of people, I've never really had a lot of issues being nervous on stage, which is weird because I have so much anxiety and other ridiculous things. But when it comes to being in front of hundreds of people, like saying repeated, lines I have to remember, like I've just never, I'm like, sure, I'm there, I've got it. I don't, just a weird superpower I've always had.
You're like, brush it off, you're like, what do you mean, nervous?
But I think stage acting is relatively, not easy, but easier than voice acting, because in stage acting, you've got a lot to help you. You've got costumes, you get to rehearse, you've got other people you're working with, you're feeding off the energy of the live audience you're in front of, and that really it makes it really immersive for you. Voice acting is different. You're alone, especially for dubs, you're alone in a little box, and you can't even move that much because you got to stay on mic, and you can't take out the equipment. So it's really like trying to get the same effect as a stage performance, but without any of the other tools. Like all your voice is now doing the heavy lifting of everything. You have your whole body for on camera and stage work, but you only have your voice.
Yeah, you have a lot more to work with on stage.
And you're also, it's kind of like being in a sensory deprivation tank, but trying to convince people that you're on horseback,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So how have you seen like the industry change over the years, whether that be voice acting or anime?
It's become so insanely big. I keep saying this phrase over and over again because that's a question people keep talking about, like how much change. And I'm like, it started and we were a bunch of theater kids dubbing anime in like a half-leased office building in a suburb of Dallas, where we were like using music stands to hold the scripts on. The music stands that were like wrapped with T-shirts so that for sound purposes, and then we had paper scripts and little fat-backed TVs were there, and we were trying to dub to this. It was reel-to-reel tape, but it was like, what are we doing? But we had fun, because no one was watching, and the freedom that gave us to just create and have fun with the material was almost infinite. And then it got big. Then anime got really popular, which all of us were like, it's about damn time, y'all been sleeping on this for 20 years. But it's insane what a big business it's had. It's become such a huge concern. Whereas like a lot of the roles I got back in the day especially were because there were like 10 of us.
Yeah.
So of course I was going to be in every everything. They didn't have anyone they could go to. So like, hey, we need you this. I'm like, yeah, I got it. So of course I was the guy that played all the glasses guy, like because they were in every show and there were only 4 of us. And
you have glasses.
Yeah, and I have glasses. If it's a glasses guy who's rich and kind of sinister, or a commander that loses an arm, I'm your guy. That's a trope too. There's been like a dozen of those. If I ever get one that loses an arm and has glasses, go home, everyone. It's my role.
Then you retire. You're like, I've done it all.
I've peaked. So it's really interesting to see how big it's come, how mainstream. It just came barrelasting into the mainstream, alive, and suddenly all these people are watching it. Families are watching shows together, and I'm like, this stuff used to be on video cassettes behind curtains in little home video shops because they didn't know where to put it, and they'd have to see, like, make sure you were 18 years old before they let you in to where, like, Ranma 1/2 was. And you're like, really? Ranma 1/2? Yeah. I got a show? Okay. But, so it's fascinating to see how much, if you'd have told me 20 years ago this is where we'd be, that I'd be at a con in DC, this gigantic, where people, like, know who you are because they've watched the show and they know your name and what you look like. I would have been like, no, that's not a thing. It's crazy to think about.
So then, you mentioned that you've been cast way back when. You've had a lot of roles with a lot of longevity. Like, how do you keep it like fresh and new and exciting?
I just have fun with it. I mean, it's really, I love, when and this has certainly been the year of legacy reprisals, hasn't it? With Black Butler and Spice and Wolf and more to come, I'm sure. Because we're very much in the nostalgia phase of anime. Yes. Now that it's popular, it's like anime saying, well, let's take you back to some of the shows you didn't know about. Yeah. Because anime wasn't as popular. Let's bring those now to the limelight because it's their day. It's super fun because as an actor, it's really nice to get to come back to a role that you already are connected with, and now I have more tools I can bring because I'm older and wiser. Yeah. Mostly older, but hopefully a little wiser, and can bring something like, Lawrence in Spice and Wolf. I understand him even better now because I have a little more experience and whatnot. So it's just really fun to get that chance. It doesn't happen often in this business.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great segue because I was going to ask about Lawrence and Spice and Wolf and ask, like, did you approach the role differently? Was there something you learned about Lawrence and something you wanted to bring to the role that was fresh?
You know what, one thing, and this is going to sound really weird, but because cons have gotten to be such a big business, I travel a lot more than I used to, and I'm not a good traveler. I'm a very stressful traveler. I don't like the getting there. I like the being there, but the getting there just fills me with anxiety, and I'm like, I can't sleep the night before, all this stuff. And so now playing this traveling merchant who's always going to situations where he has to rely on his wits because he doesn't know what's around the corner, I feel way more attuned to that now because I'm like, think of it. I get on a plane, travel across country, meet strangers, and just hope for the best.
To build those relationships,
and hopefully get a little money out of it. And that's basically Lawrence's thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, I really, I'm physically more like Lawrence's life now, which is something insane, which the show itself gave me. Yeah. So it's crazy.
Is there a certain genre or type of character that you haven't yet tapped into that you're?
I want to play old guys. I can't wait to be old. I can't wait to be the old gay man with his pearls and his beard, I'm already there, but Iconic. I mean, really old. I want to be the Sir Ian McKellen of anime.
Wonderful.
At one point.
I mean, you will be. Yeah, you will. There's no doubt.
Hope. Another 20 years.
What do you mean? You have at least 40
another 10.
More. All right, then some Spitfire fun questions. Okay. Do you have a favorite con aside from Otakon, of course?
Oh God, no, I can't say. Too many. My next one. My next one was my favorite.
How about a favorite cosplay that someone has come up to you?
My favorite is either always Sebastian or Tenya Ida if they're in full armor. Is super fun because the irony is that they cannot move in those things, and it's they're trying to play speedster, and it's like clunk 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 clunk. Yeah, those are my favorite to see.
And then do you have a favorite line or moment in the booth that really has stuck with you over the years?
Anytime I get to say Sebastian's line is super fun because everyone, even the engineer, will be like, he said the thing.
You get a little giggle from behind.
Yeah, it's nice.
Awesome. I mean, is there anything else we should be looking out for?
There's a lot of stuff coming. I'm in a lot of games coming out soon. My big one now that I'm proud of is Sid in Final Fantasy Rebirth, which has been a big feather in my cap. I love being part of that. So, but there's more. There's more coming down the wire.
We'll have to stay tuned.
Yes.
So thank you so much for meeting with us today, J Michael Tatum. All right, this is Shade, Otakon 2024. Till next time.
Bye.